Scene. Good afternoon, councillors. Full house, which is great. Nice to see a couple of our returning international councillors from various activities. Nice to have you back. Councillor Kingi, could I ask you to give us a blessing for the day, please, Councillor?
Very good news to me. Kia ora everybody. If I just ask you about we hoots. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga. Kia mā kine kine ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. E hi ake ana te atākura, he teo, he hoka, he hauhu, haumi e, hui e, tai.
Thank you very much, Councillor. And just at this time, I was remiss at the last council meeting not to acknowledge or report the unfortunate passing of Jim Maniapoto from Waititoko. He's a former councillor and, of course, Maori All Black and various other attributes that the aforesaid gentleman had. And I'd just like to acknowledge his passing at this time and his pass on all our aroha to the Maniapoto whānau. So if I could just have a minute's silence, be much appreciated. Thank you very much. Lisa, we're live streaming, so good afternoon and kia ora to all the people around the world that's watching this on live stream. Nice to have you with us. You never know, new Prime Minister of Great Britain might be listening. Anyway, item number 2. I think he's got problems in Scotland actually. Item number 2, conflicts of interest. Any conflicts of interest pertaining to the items this afternoon? Oh, great, thank you very much. Okay, we'll go straight to item 3, which is, also, sorry, we have a late agenda item, correct, Raylene, which is to receive an update on the various 2 infrastructure issues we have at the moment. 3, yep, correct. Where would you like that in the agenda?
I think pretty early on, Your Worship.
Pretty early on. We've got the various parties here. Yep, sure. We can make that after we just confirm the minutes, if you like. Yep, sure. Okay, 3.1, Ordinary Council meeting on the 4th of June. Do we have any clarification of those minutes? Councillor Hickling.
Need to pass a resolution about the special item.
Yes, if we could. Yeah, good. Thank you very much.
I'd like to move that.
Yes, moved by Councillor Hickling, seconded by
I will second it, but I just wanted a point of clarification. Is the late item just to receive information, or you're requesting some comment or direction from us?
Through you, Your Worship, no, it's only just to receive information. Obviously, any comment or feedback through the presentations are always welcome from councillors, but it's just the first opportunity to be able to provide you with a rundown. Normally, it's the sort of thing that we do through the Chief Executive's report, but we don't have one this month, given that it's the end of the financial year.
In that case, I'm happy to second we accept.
Thank you, Councillor Hickling. Moved and seconded by Councillor Hickling and Councillor John. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Item 3.1, 4th of June. Any clarification of those minutes? Okay, do I have a mover for those minutes, please? Thank you, Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Rankin. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Item 3.2, 25th of June. 2019. Any clarification of those minutes? No? Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Boddy, seconded by Councillor Truman. All those in favour, please say aye. It's against, carried. 4.1, the Ordinary Taupo Airport Authority Committee meeting on the 24th of June. Any points of clarification of those minutes? No? I have a mover there, thank you. Wasn't there? I'm happy to move. If I could have a seconder, who else was there? I can't remember. Yeah. Okay, I'll just have to ask the deputy. Yeah, so moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Harvey. All those in favour, please say aye. It's against? Carried. You right, Ryan? All right, ordinary Kinloch representative group meeting, which was held on the 27th of June in the settlement of Kinloch. Any clarification of those minutes? No? Happy to move, Councillor Jollins. Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Rankin. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. 4.3, ordinary fences, roading, reserves and dogs committee meeting, which was held on the 2nd of July. Any clarification of those minutes? Councillor Hickling. Moved by Councillor Hickling, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Stewart. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Sorry.
I'd just like to congratulate my fellow colleagues on that committee for some good decision making. I thoroughly agree with them all. I just want to. Councillor, that took you a long while. Could I just raise the question in regards of Oanui and the walkway access for talking about having a light for the pedestrians? Is that out of the mix now? So effectively, we're going to go ahead with that safety thing in the middle of the road. Would that be correct?
Where was this? Sorry, Councillor Body.
Corner of Oranui and Spa
Spa Road,
Perhaps Mr. Hickling
Oranui
might be able to
Street.
answer.
Correct. So, what was the answer? Sorry.
So yes, you're right. It's a refuge barrier, and the discussions. Kevin, are you aware, or Claire? Is she here? Dennis, Claire.
We're just clear. We just want the Spa Road update of the pedestrian refuge.
The conversations with the businesses has been undertaken, right? Just for the webcam, so consultations completed for the refuge, and a contractor will be selected to construct.
All right. Thank you very much. We've moved and seconded that one, haven't we? So 4.4 is the ordinary Turangi Tongaedo Community Board meeting, which was held on the 9th of July. Do I have any clarification of those minutes? Moved by Councillor Stewart, seconded by Councillor Kingi. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Right. We might as well go to 5.1 and get that done if that's all right. So 5.1 is the Mangakino Pauakani Representative Group minutes, and there is a recommendation in there. So Travis and Gareth will talk to this recommendation that the representative group is putting forward here today. Travis, good afternoon, and good afternoon, Gareth. If you could like to put your speakers on, it'd be great.
As I understand it, the item is coming through as a recommendation from Mangakino Representatives Group, and I'm taking the item as read and here to answer any questions about it. Sure.
Perhaps Councillor Truman, the representative from Turangi, might like to talk to this.
Turangi.
Sorry. Mangakino. Sorry about that. It's getting late in the year.
Yeah, so councillors are well aware of this item. So originally we had 200,000 in the budget, and we could have gone for a temporary option, as Turangi had, but we've decided to use that money for the full and final option, and having a permanent one. We've done all the groundwork, we know where it's going to go, they've done all the planning for it locally, got everyone on board with all the different user groups, and basically when staff have gone out to get quotes, it's looking like around the $800,000 mark for estimates. So in order for us to go and seek funding, we'd like to have half coming from council, which will hopefully enable the other half to come from outside funders. So that's what this resolution is to say, can we please have additional funding in order for this project to work. And it's been 2 years since the club room's burnt down, and we've been working through this for the last 18 months. So yeah, we'd just like your support to see this through.
Okay, through your worship, just to add one little thing there, is that given the timing, and this was spoken about extensively at the rep group, The timing of when we will take to get the funding and do this work, it's likely that the next annual plan will come through anyway, and so it will be added in at that time. But we need the certainty now to be able to go and ask for those funds from funders. So we don't expect that we would have to actually expend the money in the next financial year, but we need the approval to be able to do it, to be able to go and get that other part of the funding.
Sure. Councillor Body.
Mr. Chairman, could I just ask the question? On the long-term plan, we have Mangakino Lakefront and Public Convenience Development. That's out in the year 21-22. And we have Mangakino Open Space Upgrades 18-19. Is that all part of this playground, sports field facilities? Totally different.
It's changing rooms.
The sports ground changing rooms on our sports fields, that is public toilets facilities down at the lakefront. So we did discuss that finance, but those have been needed, desperately needed for years, and we're just waiting on land issues to be sorted before we can go ahead with that.
So through you, Mr. Chairman, can I ask that what Mr. Green has said, it's not going to be unbudgeted money, it'll be in the next annual plan, but we need to have it signalled now, is that correct?
So it's still classed as unbudgeted money because you're allowing for it now, but we simply won't expend it until we need to, and the chances of that happening before the next annual plan are very limited. But this allows us to go and get that funding because we've got a commitment that we have our half sitting there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, cool.
So,
Councillor Jollins.
just through the chair, just to clarify that point, because I'm still slightly confused. Is unbudgeted expenditure in the long-term plan full stop, or is it signalled in that subsequent year?
No, so in the current annual plan is $200,000. This is asking for an additional $200,000. The question and then the statement I'm making is that it's unlikely that we'll be expending that, as in entering into the contracts within this next year, because it'll take time to go and get those external funding sources. So the likelihood of being able to provide for it in the next annual plan is very high, but we need something now to be able to secure that other 50% of the funding.
But just to clarify, in terms of our long-term plan and what we've rated for, etc., we've only got 200,000 in the budget line. Okay. My next question is probably for the staff through the chair, if that's okay. I would like to understand how this development in Mangakino fits in with our sports and recreation strategy. What the notes from the Mangakino Pauakani group are silent on for me that I'm trying to understand is the value and the priority of us investing this additional money in this community in line with our priorities across the district for sports and recreation.
Someone will be speaking a little bit out of tune here. Our sports and recreation strategy hasn't been completed yet. We're still waiting for that to happen. So for us to get that science and me make a comment on that, I prefer for that strategy to come out. But this is all about looking at the community's wants and needs and us having the ability to deliver that.
Just perhaps if I could support Gareth in what you say. This has already been debated. This project has already been debated through the previous long-term plan.
Yeah.
The need is there for the changing rooms. Obviously, it'll dovetail into the sports and strategy plan. I understand that, but this product or this capital expense item has already been decided on. What we're endeavouring to do, because the scope of the project is a lot more. The community wanted a lot more than what we're able to provide so far. So to go and get external funding, we need this extra.
That's correct,
unbudgeted figure.
Yes, sure.
But as the CEO has explained, it's not necessarily going to be expended in the next foreseeable future until we get that external funding. Councillor Stewart. No, you're not. Sorry.
I support what Mangakino is asking for. I know how long it takes to get that external funding in line, and without that seed funding sitting there, it doesn't have to be spent, but knowing that it's there, it gives you the opportunity to go out to seek that extra funding. So I'm totally in support of what Mangakino's after.
Councillor Body.
I'm just struggling. I mean, I've got the long-term plan here, unless there was the amendment that for the annual plan we've just completed for the year we're in now. I can't find it under community facilities, the 200. We've got the ones to do with, where are we? I think conveniences and things like that, but I can't find specifically for sports. Sports grounds.
It's, sorry, through the chair, it's definitely there. I'm just trying to think of what they, it might have been labelled differently. I don't know. I'd be happy to look at the LTP and come back to you. Yeah. That's correct.
Except, once again, sorry to hold things up, but under districts, sports ground district, Mangakina Lakefront and public convenience development is not until another year. I'm just trying now to find the 100.
So
Under
through the chair,
sports grounds.
that's a different project.
So, okay, so what budget would it be under? If
It's definitely under communities.
It has its own line item, and yeah, in the LCP. And the resolution,
Thank you.
Through
Um,
Councillor Jollins.
Through the chair.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Williamson.
Thank you, through the chair. Yeah, thank you. I support commentary from Maggie Stewart, and with regard, I think we're overthinking this. I think I think the CEO gave a pretty good explanation. Just need to have some assurance that the money will be there, whether it's this year, next year, or the following year, for seeking external funding. So I'm prepared to move the recommendations. At least number 1, 2, and 3.
Yep. Okay, Councillor Jollins.
Turn yourself off. Look, I'm all in support of developing facilities for our communities. My concern here is this is the first time I've seen this. I'm asking to see whether there's been a feasibility study done, how this works in with our sports and recreation strategy. I appreciate that it is still in development and we can't always wait for these things, but I have a concern about the robustness of this and going out to external funders. They're going to want to see some form of feasibility or business case for this, and yet we're being asked here to approve a couple of $100,000 on that basis. I'm also struggling, and I'm going to say this, we've been asked numerous times from communities other than Mangakino to support their community facilities and sports and recreation, and I'm thinking of Turangi here, and yet we haven't been able to move that one past the first post yet, but here we are with Mangakino, so I'm just putting that one out on the table and raising my concerns.
Yeah, Councillor Truman.
Yeah, so just in regards to that, this has been on the books ever since Turangi's did, and it's from Turangi that we said, well, hang on a minute, Turangi's getting funding to put a temporary facilities there, our one burnt down, and we've got nothing, and our kids are changing in the backs of cars, we've got players trying to change, going home to change it, and so Turangi got funding to put a temporary facilities there. We don't have any facilities. So when Turangi got that, that's when the money first went in for Mangakino to say, okay, well, what we're doing in Turangi will also support Mangakino. And then it came back that the funding was under budgeted, and so it went from 100k up to 200k. I think Turangi's temporary option came to 210,000. What we said was, we don't want to, we're not going to waste money putting a temporary solution there. We want a permanent solution. So we'll keep changing in the backs of cars until we've got something decent. And I know it sounds like a lot of money, but we're not actually asking for much. We're asking for 2 changing rooms and a small meeting room, which is about the size of our current council, where we have our council meetings, which is pretty tiny. So we're not asking for anything big. Even though it sounds like a lot of money, it's because everything has to be commercial grade, which has just bumped the price right up compared to what we first estimated. So when staff have gone out to get pricing, it's gone double than what we thought. So yeah, so Turangi has got it, and they did get it, whereas we're still waiting. Yeah.
Councillor Stewart.
Yeah, with Turangi, we've also got seed funding from council to go to other funders to get funding to build a permanent facility down there. And so Council's already given us the seed funding, and we are all, I know that people are already working on the external funding, and with that external funding, when you're applying for that, that's when you have your feasibility study and things. So they're being worked on right now, so that we will get the seed funding, using the seed funding that Council's already given us. The work is being done on the feasibility study, and the external funders are looking at funding us. So without Mangakino having that opportunity, they will miss out for another year, 2 years. Waiting to the long-term plan is just putting them back another few years, whereas saying yes, it's there. They won't need it until then because it takes such a long time to get these things done. But it gives them the start to do it.
All right, okay. Sorry. Anna. Councillor Park.
Yeah, I'm happy to second this recommendation from the Mangakino representative group, and I think, you know, we can't compare apples with pears, and I get a bit concerned that when you've had a project followed through the correct way, the representative group have worked with the community constructively, they've all come together and come to council to say this is what we want to do moving forward, is really positive. So I'm very happy to second the recommendation 1 to 3.
Okay. Councillor Harvey.
Yes, I'd like to actually totally agree. I find it also a bit concerning that we're comparing one set of circumstances to another. Mangakino do not ask for very much at all. And this is absolutely ridiculous that we're not just doing it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Harvey. Councillor Kingy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I'm a member of the Mangakino representative group, along with Councillor Hickling and Councillor Truman. There was a robust discussion around this particular project. I can't say hand on heart that I have engaged with the Mangakino community any more than, I don't know, anyone else probably sitting there, bar our Mangakino representatives. I think for me here, there are a couple of things. I am understanding of the fact that we put in place strategies and policies to try and manage and guide us and help us as councillors to make decisions. And so the sport and rec policy, it does have a place. Now, we are talking about a timing issue here, but it does have a place. I think we need to recognise that. Principally, I will always support these sorts of projects that see our kids in any part of our district, Taupo, Turangi, Mangakino, engaging in activities that see themselves off the streets. Now, at that same meeting, we had some applications from some sporting groups that I know will utilise that facility. So I see there is a very real thing. I think when we think about Turangi, and this is just me flying my Turangi flag now, well, certainly from my opinion, is it is a sensitive subject. It is a very sensitive subject because Turangi's feeling isolated. And whilst I accept what Deputy Mayor has said about Mangakino doesn't ask for much, Turangi's been asking for this consistently. We have not had a facility at all. Yet we still don't have a facility. So it's not about comparing apples with pears, but I think it's acknowledging what are the real issues that are facing all of our communities. That said, on principle, I will always support something that sees a facility go into place that can support the growth and aspirations of our kids. Get up.
Thanks, through you, Mr. Chair. Just to answer off the question from Councillor Body before, the long-term plan, page 53, second line down is the $200,000 budget for this project.
100% correct, Mr. Chairman. I'm well aware of that. It happens to read Mangakino open space upgrades. That's the reason I raised the question. It's not identifying what we've got in front of us on the board, and then a comment was made about something about this is in the annual plan, but it's not signified in the long-term plan. So that 200 is going to be used.
That is what that 200 is for. So the open plan, the open space upgrades is identifying it's a bucket of money that is used for this purpose. So that is this project always has been, always will be.
It's a pity it didn't have the sports ground. Now, I want to ask the question about the 100,000 from someone, that it's there. Or did I miss that figure?
The additional 100,000 that's listed.
Well, you mentioned the figure of 100,000.
Yeah.
Originally. 2 years prior to.
Well, I can only go on what was in the annual plan of, that's this one here.
So the long-term plan has got the 200,000 in there. It's called open, so that's obviously the technical term for a changing room, by the sound of it. But I'd set Councillor Body that perhaps in brackets changing room would have been changing rooms would have been a bit easier to explain. So anyway, all right, carrying on. Councillor Jollins.
Just a point of clarification for the Mangakino representatives. The whole project's 800,000. If we were of a mind to approve this, you've got about 400 in the pot. Who are you going to approach for the balance, and what happens for the community if you're not successful? Do you have a plan B?
Through the chair, we're working with Rose and coming up with a funding strategy to get the remaining money, which will include who we will apply to for funding and how much to each group. So we're working with Rose on doing that, and we'll also be coming up with a plan B because we have no idea how much funding we will be able to get. So we can adjust scope or deal with that as it arises.
So just following up from Councillor Kingy's comments in terms of ensuring that there is something there for the community going forward, we would potentially look at temporary if we couldn't secure funding to build something of this scale.
That would be up to the community group, the rep group at the time.
And I might add that Mangakino has a very good reputation in this field. They've had a playground half funded by Transpower, so there is some good history there. So there's all sorts of funders out there that could be possible. So, all right, Councillor Hickling.
Because I'm also on the representative group. This particular development project is a very basic project. There are two really small changing rooms. There's a very small meeting room and two shower facilities and toilets. And as Kirsty has said, it's because when we build a project like this, we have to go to commercial structures, but it's so expensive. It's a pity for the other members that the actual plan of what we intend to try to build there is not included in this item, because they would see that it's a very small building that will certainly accommodate only 2 teams at a time. So, whilst it might seem a lot of money, it is a very small building.
Correct. I think the plan is not there because we haven't finalised the plan as such. Yeah, because there's some final stuff to do. Oh, well, you know how expensive toilets and showers are. Go back to Hot Water Beach, what it cost us for quite a small footprint down there. So, all right, I think we've probably.
Before you do, I want clarification.
Councillor Body.
I think Mr. Green said about the next annual plan, while it would be unbudgeted now, it would show as a expense in the next annual plan. So it'd be something that would be submitted at that time. So we're not doubling the take, would that be right?
No, so you're providing for $200,000 worth of unbudgeted expenditure now. What will likely happen is that we're unlikely to expend all of that between now and the next annual plan, being July next year. If whatever we don't expend, we can then account for and provide the money for in the next annual plan. But I think you're getting yourself tied up in knots over.
Not on my.
The important thing is that it's $200,000 unbudgeted, and that we won't be expending that until we need to, but we need the 50% funding to be able to get the other 50% of external funding.
But there's no guarantee of that external funding, which I think may have been Councillor Jolin's question, because if it's not raised, and I've got to compliment Mangakino on that sports, the playground, he did raise that funding. If it's not raised, do we then come back for that additional expenditure? So
that would be the decision of the representative group and whoever's sitting around this table at that time, and there's different options. You already talked about a couple, changing scope, etc., etc. But this would be the same as Turangi. Turangi is way ahead of this process and that they're already out there getting the funding. There is funding available. We can't say that we're going to get 50%, but that is that's been done and achieved in other places, so we're relatively comfortable. But we would have to come back to the rep group and then ultimately council if we can't do that and either change scope, find alternative funding sources, or do something else at that point.
Based on those comments, I'm going to support it, but I hope that, and it will be, that my concerns have been noted.
Cool. All right. I think it was moved by Councillor Williamson, seconded by Councillor Park, correct? So 1, 2 and 3. The recommendation is there on the board. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Okay, so we'll go to the late agenda item, which is the update on the... is everyone here, Dennis?
Yep,
Oh,
no,
yeah,
we're all
yeah,
here.
everyone here.
So, Your Worship, I'll
Yep.
kick off on this one. And apologies for it being a late item, and thank you for allowing that to come through. Normally, as I said before, we would put this as part of the normal monthly CEO's report. However, this month we haven't got one of those simply because of where we're at in the calendar, being at the end of the financial year. So we never have one for this meeting. But I think there's three issues which I'd like to have the staff just brief you on. Two of them are the emergency situations that occurred, so the Lake Terrace sewer spill. So we have the team here to talk through that and show you some of the footage. Aware that some of you will have seen some of that, so apologies that you'll sit through it again, but I think it'll be useful for all of you to have the same information and for it obviously to be in the public arena as well. The second one is the Crown Road incident, which happened 3 days after actually 2 days after the Lake Terrace spill. And the third one is just to give you a little update on the traffic lights, given that it's been a contentious issue in the district, or in the town district, for some time. So we've got Claire, who will just give us a little bit of an update and observations and answer any questions that you may have as councillors around those traffic lights. Before I hand it over to Claire, though, I did want to make a couple of observations, and I guess it's born through the traffic lights, but also through those other projects that I mentioned, and really it's around the and I want to make this point around the flack that that council laws, councils and council staff have received through these processes. And if I just concentrate on the traffic lights for a moment, I think it's totally understandable that there's some scepticism and concern by some of the community around that project. It was obviously a controversial matter in this chamber and has been out in the community. Fair enough about that. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. However, to me, this has been an extraordinary example of the need for people out in the community to be kind, or at least consider the impact of on real people of their comments and their decision making before they fly off the handle. Leading up to the lights installation, and then in fact on the first day, on the Tuesday, there was so much angry, hurtful, uninformed and abusive vitriol, I'd call it, stated on social media, cafes, sides of sports grounds around the community. Much of it was really personal. It was personal against you as councillors, it was personal against us as staff. It was uncalled for, and in fact it was irresponsible. It's the sort of thing that you tell your kids not to be nice and not to say. And these are friends of mine. These are people out in the community that are well respected business people, let's say friends of mine as well. But I've heard those same people tell their kids to be nice to people, and here they are out in the public ridiculing people who are staff, who are doing their job to the best of their ability. They're paid to do a good job. We don't always get it right as staff, and sometimes we don't, but our staff are people as well. They're neighbours, they're friends, they're people that live in this community, and it's simply not fair. It's not right for them to be chastised the way that they have around these projects. They are simply doing their job. People wonder about bullying and social media and things like that, and I think that there's some really good examples in what's happened here that is just totally unacceptable. I don't understand how grown adults believe that it's okay to treat people like this. Some of the words, I'm not going to repeat them because that's not the right forum to do so, but some of the commentary again on social media around things, words and comments like incompetence, morons, good for nothing staff, silly decision making, and a whole lot more that I say I can't repeat here because it would be inappropriate to use such language. So it's really just a plea for me right at the moment to say to the community at large and you as our representatives, we need to be kind to each other. Our staff are people. They take this stuff on board. It hurts. It hurts us all, and I know it does for you guys as well when you read and hear this stuff. We are only trying to do our jobs. It's interesting now that the tide of opinion on the lights in particular seems to have changed, and it's now got really positive. The interesting thing is that when I read through those comments, a lot of the people who are now the most positive were the ones who were the most hurtful in the first instance. And I'd say to them, those people, again, most of them are my friends and people that I know very well, I'd say that's all well and good, but have a think about how people go about it. I'm not against people putting their opinion and their view forward, but play the ball and not the man is the only thing. Staff are only trying to do their job. I know some of you won't like that commentary, but I think it needs to be said. Our staff are trying to do the right thing, trying to do the right job, and there's no conspiracy. So
Councillor Rankin.
Gareth, thank you for standing up for your staff. I don't mean it should have happened before, but it's the first time I've ever heard a chief executive in these circumstances do it, and you're absolutely right. I've worked with a lot of public servants and I've worked with a lot of councils, and I think we have a first-class staff, and I'm really glad you're standing up for them. That public vitriol is the cruelest thing, and it can do quite major things to people, and I've pointed out to everyone who complained to me that the decision was taken around this table. Those people are carrying out our will, and it really frustrates me, so thank you very, very much.
Councillor Park. Yep. Councillor Harvey.
I just totally agree. In fact, I was very disappointed to see personal comments on there about which councillors voted for these lights and we'll make sure that they don't get re-voted. It's disgusting, and I just will not accept it.
Okay, thanks for that, Gareth, and I...
Before you continue, I
sorry.
appreciate what Mr Green has said, but while I was away, I also read some very good comments, particularly with the breakdown here. I believe during the night people were bringing food and coffees down. There was a group that called the guys putting the lights in that freezing cold the iceberg men or something. There was a hell of a lot of good complimentary remarks, just not all negative, and I think that needs to be noted.
Absolutely note that, and we've had a whole lot of treats given and a whole lot of positives as well. What I'd say is that often one negative can outweigh the positives, and particularly when it gets really personal. And there has been some positive. I guess the plea that I have to, and it's to the people in the community, is often it's without the right information, and it's not that the information isn't there, but it'll often be that there's the information within the item, and people obviously haven't even bothered to go in and read it, and they sit there, and it's the same old story that they come out and put the misinformation out there, and that's life. I don't know how you can overcome that. That's reality, and it's fake news, but there are people on the other side of that. It's not, there aren't machines and monsters. There are real people who read that.
Okay. Councillor Hickling?
Just a comment. Gareth, you very kindly sent quite a lengthy email, which I certainly read. And I think it was a pity it wasn't on the first page of the Taupo Times, so everybody could have read it. I don't know quite where it finished up, but I think you explained it really well in terms of the ETA and all the past, and I appreciated the way that you'd put that email out, but I was a bit disappointed it probably wasn't in the Taupo Times or the Weekender. Word for word, I mean. I know some of the comments was there, but...
So that was shared on our Facebook, on Taupo District Council's Facebook page, and not everybody gets it, but that was in direct response to some of the negativity the night before and just the misinformation. Interestingly, that's and I'm not saying it's because of that, but the tide turned on day 2, which is when I put that out and the lights started to work as designed. And all of a sudden, again, the information and the commentary changed from a negative commentary to a positive commentary. But you're right, there was a lot of feedback that we received around that it was nice to be able to read it in a chronological order. It's not that we hadn't had that out before, so we were just talking about it this morning. I don't quite know why that got traction and the stuff that we had previously hadn't, but that is life.
Okay, thank you, councillors, and thank you, Mr. CEO, for that this afternoon. Right,
Thank
clear.
you, and
Traffic lights.
Thank you, Gareth, for the support. Just a quick update. You all know they got turned on last Monday, 22nd, at about Tuesday.
No, it was Monday
That was Monday afternoon.
Monday afternoon.
Yeah.
Monday afternoon, sorry. Monday afternoon. Just as
Yeah.
the school traffic started. So there was a little bit of an issue there. And I was out there on Friday night watching it till about 5:30 and actually was quite surprised by the movement of the traffic. The roundabout still seems to be the issue. Tuesday morning we had very, very heavy fog. And of course we had the morning peak, which threw an issue into that as well. And plus the driver, there was a little bit of driver behaviour, not knowing exactly how to use the intersection correctly. Once we got the word out about using the 2 lanes to turn right, it seemed to free up. And a lot of the team have been out there most days watching the morning peaks especially. And actually once drivers actually knew that the second right turn was there, a lot more cars were actually flowing through. To the point where Thursday morning I went up there and I went, ooh, spooky, no queue. And people are actually able to get out of Woodward Street quite easily. So I think it was just that little bit of driver education that we needed to put forward, perhaps, in hindsight. But touch wood, it's all working well at the moment. We are still looking at, we're doing a signs and markings audit. We've got a few issues of markings not being completed up the hill, and we will be doing a post-construction safety audit in the near future to actually work out any issues. But at this stage we are just monitoring it. The fibre connection to the camera is not actually connected yet, so we haven't got that that facility working, but once that's up and running we can then monitor it a lot more closely.
What's the speed camera?
It's just well, maybe we do need a speed camera, a red light camera maybe.
Okay. Councillor Harvey?
Just a quick query. At the moment, we've got that temporary sign saying use both lanes to turn right. I suggest we have that done permanently. And just by the lights, because some people still, I think holiday people, first-time users, rah-de-rah-de-rah, will still get confused. So I think we need something permanent just as you go into that second lane.
Cool. We can discuss that, yeah. It's quite funny. There was 6 cars in the right-hand lane. I think Kevin saw me and I shot round the left. And they all went, oh, is that what you do? Yeah, they were looking at me. Anyway, yeah. I think there was... Yes, shh.
You're going round and round.
Going to church. All right. Any questions are clear? Thank you very much, Claire, and appreciate your time on the site, as well as Kevin and obviously other engineers and staff there too. It's great to see. Right. You're all good? Thanks, Claire.
So we might go to...
Dennis?
Are you up, Dennis? So we might go for the... Roger. So we'll go to Crown Road.
Crown Road. The corner of Crown and Invergary Road. So we have Mr. Roger Stokes, Development Engineer. Good afternoon, Roger. Just if you turn your speaker on, you can, yeah.
Little button at the front.
Yeah, yep. That's it.
Mayor David and councillors, I'm Roger Stokes, Development Engineer, as introduced. 3 weeks ago we had a major subside incident at Crown Road, and I have provided some updates to some of you, but I've got just a few photos here of some of the more spectacular moments of the repair job. The road was reopened, Crown Road was permanently reopened on Friday afternoon with a major repair. Some of the pictures here, as I say, will just show a bit of the scale of the works, so I'm just pretty much going to speak through it on it. I didn't know I was speaking today, so I didn't have anything prepared. This is the roof of a digger viewed from ground level. This is on the side of the Ashwood Park stormwater pond as it's digging out the large crack that it went through the side and emptied the pond out into the, pretty much across Crown Road and out into Crown Park. And that's the same position there, just showing how we compacted the crack, or the fissure, which was about, probably about pretty much as wide as what you see there. At that depth. It was widened because of the water coming down. We didn't let anybody go into the trenches there, so it was dug out with a digger bucket, and then we compacted with it, which is a roller. You see there's a roller on the end there, like a sheep's foot roller, which pushes the ground down and compacts it. Now, this is Crown Road. We repaired 17 metres of carriageway here. We didn't. It's been fractured and broken before, so the seal was in poor state of repair. The curbs were up and down. They've been patched several times, as I said, and the seal had completely lost its waterproofness. Now, the latest crack was about here, but investigations showed that the original crack lines were more further up towards the Mitre 10 end of Crown Road. So I got them to dig right up along here. We found 3 crack zones, historic ones, and just where the digger bucket is where the major historical one that's been there for hundreds of years. It's about was there. So in order to try and avoid having me back there again and all the rest of us too soon, rather than just put it back to pumice like we did with Invergary Road, we dug it out to 1 metre wide and put geotextile fabric, which is like netting down there, which is a very strong polyethylene mat. We put 3 layers of that interspersed with some of our council's crushed concrete from the landfill. So the concrete has sort of self-healing properties, and so I'm hoping that it's going to have a lot more flexibility than just putting pumice in, which is, as I've said before, it'd be just like wet sand. Once it dries hard, you sort of breaks like slices of cake. So the major zone of inflection is over about, or bending is over about 15 metres at this point. So I'm hoping this will be a major repair, and it was certainly due, so that was fully complete, as I said, and reopened on Friday. Here we've got Kieran showing you a picture in Crown Park there with the fissure that ran right out into Crown Park, and that's sort of the void that you can see there where some of the water came from deeper down in the ground and then came back up and broke through the ground surface here. So we end up with a whole lot of little undulations. Hopefully that goes back. The turf was cut and rolled up like a mat, and so at the end of the job it could all be put back down in the same place, and it was easily reopened available again in the last weekend for the football. I assume they played there. I didn't go up and have a look, but so that was a great job done by Kieran and his team. This was the repair at Invergary Road. We were doing the membrane seal there, just an action shot of the Hebs crew that came down from Rotorua overnight. And this is a section of Crown Road where we placed a 50mm thick asphaltic concrete surface, which is appropriate surfacing for this time of year in the colder conditions. I think that might be all I've got for you in terms of the pictures, but today Infomax are just finishing off their works at the Ashwood Park pond, filling in the remains of the cracks there. It's all been straw mulched, grass seeded, plants have been put back, the footpaths are all done, fences all gone, signs removed, so it's pretty much my job's done, and I can hand it back to the asset managers to look after. In terms of where to for here, I've got the bills to come in yet. I don't know what that's going to look like yet, but could be around 120,000 or something like that, based on some preliminary indications I've had so far. Contact Energy have agreed to pay for all of that, as far as I'm aware, in terms of the agreed scope of works. We're needing to do something about resilience in that area because the ground is continuing to bend and continuing to sink, and has been for since the records we've been taking. In the centre of the subsidence zone, it's going down to about 100 millimetres a year. That's over about a 200 metre radius, but most of the bending is occurring over about a 30 metre section. The house that's on the corner is been vacated, it's been condemned, and is planned for demolition in the next month or two by Contact Energy. Fortunately, the tenant managed to get all his property out, so that's been cleared. We're looking, I believe, at replacing some of the water mains and other pipes within the next year with some probably polyethylene or something that's more resilient, because, as we say, the deflection will continue and they're already in a stressed state. The ground will continue to pull apart, and at some point we'll be back again to do other bits and pieces there. But hopefully at least the repairs that we've done on Crown Road won't go again for quite a while. In Ashwood Park Pond, we're looking at having to, well, at this stage, considering lining it where the areas where the fault line is, to avoid, if it opens up again, having water leaking out and then making the situation much worse. So,
Okay. Thank you, Roger. I appreciate the update there. Any quick questions of Roger? Councillor Harvey?
Thanks, Roger, for that very detailed explanation. Even though you weren't prepared, it was good.
Yeah.
And it was really good, easy, understandable language. With my other hat on, obviously you talked about properties around there and the continued subsidence. Do you think this has made any impact on that, or is that quietly just happening anyway? And is there anything more we can do about that for people to be reassured with property values and issues?
The zone that we had cracking on was about over 200 metre length. It started in the Ashwood Park Pond, went across the two roads and ended up in the upper Crown Road Park. That's been the area where it's had the greatest curvature. That you can see that on the mapping that they do, that has the greatest tension put into the ground. And that crack goes right under the last house on Invergary Road. I believe Contact Energy own another house there as well. Most of the houses there, fortunately, are sitting on the natural ground. The whole hole is a very historical, thousands of years old hydrothermal vent. Basically, you think of a cone that just blew out at one point, and then after it loose material, and 1800 years ago, when the last big eruption happened at Taupo, it capped it off again. So you can't really see the defined bit of it. So there's an area in Ashwood Park that's all on a slow, progressive tilt towards the centre of it. That's all known, and it's on the titles and in terms of consent notices, etc. So people have got to look at. Typically, they design big flexible steel frame buildings that have the ability to have some flexibility in them. Contact Energy is looking at, I believe, increasing their zone of identified subsidence based on, I think, their criteria and their consent is 1 millimetre of tilt differential tilt within 25 metres, and their latest monitoring says that actually they probably need to go a little bit further down Invergary Road to incorporate a few more properties. So, sorry for rambling on a bit, but it's the full picture. It's a known area. It's on the limb. It has been for a long time. I'm just trying to reassure that it actually isn't a major concern to us in terms of the data that we have. In the centre of it's near where the Contact Energy bores are, on the opposite side to Crown Park. That's the ground zero, if you like, in terms of the maximum subsidence. It has been figures of up to 150 millimetres a year, and some years zero, which it was about 10, 12 years ago. So it went through a period of stability, and then as resumed settling again. Monitoring's done constantly, and we get the data sent through to us.
So sorry, through the chair, just to add to this, Roger mentioned before that the pipe work and other things we'd be looking at over time. That will be something that we'll bring through to you in the next LTP, to be looking at resilience in that type of area. We've done fit for purpose repairs right now. They are the most flexible joints that we can have over those immediate areas, but we've fixed up where those pipes were displaced, and only those short links. To get outside of the subsidence bowl, you're talking about a kilometre of water, a kilometre of wastewater, a kilometre of stormwater. So it's a much bigger decision to look at. And we may choose to, amongst our other priorities, to live with this. But it's certainly a discussion that we'll want to have as part of a resilience conversation moving forward.
Just to quickly say, Mr. Chairman, there's some very good information. If you Google subsidence Taupo, there's some very good articles come up. It's well worth a read.
Much, Roger, and for your ongoing work on that site. Right, we have Lake Terrace site. Mr. Dennis.
Just take me a couple of minutes.
Lewis.
To finish it.
Yep, sure.
What I'm going to go through is a little bit of drone footage. It's the drone footage we took on the day after the event, and then we've got a short presentation just outlining what's happened and what we're going to be doing. This has been my life for the last month. So this was taken Wednesday afternoon. The event had happened Tuesday afternoon. You can see, oh, no you can't. Whoops, head down. Oh, bugger. I'm maybe not going to show you any drone footage. John, you remember? But I think it...
Manager of Technology. There we go.
Look at him go.
Hey.
Trying to get the timing right to get the designs done in time to get them built. So it was quite a unique milestone last Wednesday to get the sewer back running again. Yep. Don't go because I'll need to get it back for the... so this shows you the fan. This was taken on Wednesday afternoon. That fan that you can see out from the scour area is all pumice that's come out of the scour area. You see the yellow boom out on the lake that was put out by the harbour master, and the orange boom there was to protect it. As we zoom in there, you'll see the white pipes of the water main, and as we get closer in, you'll see the concrete wastewater pipes. The orange rectangular top right hand corner are the pumps. So when we first established on site, we were using pumping to pump it over from one manhole to downstream. Kevin, if you want to jump in any stage about, I've been looking after the rebuild, not what happened on the day, so I don't have as much detail on the events that occurred on the day. You can see the water main pipe sticking out there on the right. You can see where the footpath is collapsed down on top of the water main, and as we come around, you'll see just to the left of the white water main, just underneath that yellow and black band about now, you'll be able to see the wastewater pipe sitting underneath the footpath. And again, a good shot of where we were. That's the immediate upstream manhole that we were pumping out. All the red and white hoses were the hoses that we're using to pump through to the next manhole. When we first started out, we had our own trailer pumps. by the time we'd finished, I think there were 6 pumps on site, 10-inch pumps, 6-inch pumps, and 4-inch pumps. The site is significantly different now. If you could change
So just as they work through that, the pumping there is obviously, as Dennis said, was the highest risk. It's been well advertised. Gareth has had articles in the paper as well. The work that the team did, those pumps were manned 24/7, solidly for all of the time that they were in place there. Anything went wrong, any revolutions changed, the people will be there fixing it straight away. And they did have some times when pumps stopped working, but they were there pretty smart to get through that work.
Yep.
You can skip that one, Dennis, if you want.
Cool. This is just a very quick summary of events starting on the 2nd of July, about 13:26 to be exact, when council started receiving calls about the burst water main. I'm not going to go through the individual things. It would probably take a little bit too long.
So I can run through this. Dennis.
There you go, Kevin.
So just the key things there. So 5 minutes, downers were pretty much on site within 5 or 10 minutes. Within 45 minutes of the initial call, the whole area was barricaded off with cones, lots of stuff. So first things when downers turned up on site, the first thing for them is to make sure that they are safe, was to make sure that they can do their job. The next thing is we're making sure that we've got lots of people are pretty interested in big holes. They get lots of people wanting to run around and have a look at these things, is to make sure that they're safe. And only then that we've got the staff safe and the contractor safe, and the community safe around those areas, then they can start looking at the water. So the water main was needed 5 different valves to turn off. So that's no mean feat to get all of that done within 40-45 minutes. After that, the next thing that they did a lot of work on was actually putting more permanent temporary fencing up and around the place. Again, you can appreciate this is one of our busiest footpaths and it's certainly our busiest street. So that took a fair bit of time to work your way through that, to get all of the barricades and the things that are warranted in that space. And it appears about an hour later, we actually had the footpath that collapsed on top of the wastewater pipe, which was open in the hole as well. And that started off a whole new series of events. So I think that's probably all I'll leave it on that, but it's a pretty tight, and a lot of stuff happened over that first 4 to 5 days there, and then it moved into more construction, but it's a difficult construction. It's high, and you haven't got probably a corner within Taupo that's got as many services in it as what we've got here, what Dennis and the team are dealing with.
This, talking about the corner and all the services, the red lines are sewer lines, blue are water main, green is stormwater. That's where the scour point has occurred. Of note, there's a water line going through there, the sewer line and the stormwater. What we're in the process of doing is rerouting the sewer line, so we've moved that onto the other side of the road, and you can see that alignment now. 3 manholes have been installed. Those manholes are in the order of 4 metres deep. The pipe work is about 3 to 4 metres deep, so everything's being done with trench shields. If you've been down on site and seen those big concrete walls that look like walls, that's for the trench shield to make it safe for workers to work in the trench. Otherwise you'd be battering back the trenches somewhere in the order of 5 metres either side of where the redirecting the stormwater, because the stormwater and sewer are conflicted. They're roughly at the same level. At the moment, you'll notice there's a lot of pumps still down there. All of the orange pumps have gone. That was for the sewer. The other pumps that are there are all for stormwater. At the moment, with the rain, that stormwater line, that stormwater line that has an outlet there is not connected. Yeah, I'm a bit drunk, aren't I? To that manhole there. So we're pumping over. Putting in a new water main. Basically this water main is going to run from Ruapehu Street down to probably the bottom end of the second car park on Ferry Road. I'll just go back. And the other thing that we're doing is building a 7 or 8 metre high mechanically stabilised earth wall. Council's done that before down in Pukawa. We built a couple of retaining walls down there. It's basically building it up with earth, wrapping layers of earth with fabric, and then just building it up like that. And then the facing will be covered in mesh and will be hydroseeded with grass. As I said, the sewer line was completed last Wednesday, so everything is now flowing by gravity. They're working on the stormwater as we speak, along with the water line. What we've also done with taking the opportunity with this stormwater line, because it takes a lot of the CBD area, we're going to put a downstream defender unit in that line. We did one last year last year was down in Turangi, the year before was the one at the bottom of Ruapehu Street.
That's the Hydes one.
Yes. Yep. So that's going to help to clean the stormwater that's coming out of that pipe. There's no better opportunity than right now when everything's closed off, and so that work will be happening. At this stage, we anticipate having the site completed sometime in September. It's still a little bit early, a lot weather dependent, especially for the construction of the retaining wall. Work on the retaining wall started at the end of last week. They've built a track from here down into, from there down into the bottom of the hole, and they've started cleaning the bottom of that hole out. So all of the material is being pulled out of that hole and taken up to the landfill. Do you want to go any further? Any questions?
Time frame perspective, because it's one that people are asking, Dennis, in terms of having roads back open again?
That's September sometime. I'm a little bit cagey at the moment with dates. We've only just signed off on the final design plans for everything in the last couple of days. His program, although I say I'm a little bit cagey with dates, the contractor has got a defined schedule of program that's got 101 different items on it, so we're tracking that, but once we've got these final designs signed off, then we can start firming up on the end date.
So the only other thing I'd add through you, Mr. Chairman, is that obviously this is going to come at a substantial cost. We don't quite know what that is yet, and unfortunately, unlike Crown Road, we don't have someone else to be able to go to ask for that. That said, we are exploring other funding opportunities, obviously, as you'd expect. But it is going to be a substantial cost, which will have to be done in retrospect. So we're bringing something to you probably at the next council meeting, depending on timing obviously for this type of thing. So that's something that we'll put together in that paper for next month, hopefully, depending on timing. But yeah, obviously it is going to be a substantial cost to the organisation. Put it into context, we're talking multiple millions of dollars for this job.
So through the chair, if I can just add one thing too, there's a cost to this, but there's also a delay in all the other stuff that we should have been doing at this very important construction time. The first one off the rank is Taupo Street CBD upgrade. There's no way we want to open up and have more congestion on Ruapehu Street at this time, so that's something we'll bring back through here to have a look at those. But we're also behind, Dennis's team are behind on compliance reports for Waikato Regional Council, compliance reports for drinking water assessments, which are all done at this very important time of the year, which we're going to have to work our way through.
Good point. And then the last thing I'll just add is we are very aware that we are under some legal risk as well, and we will obviously manage that and work with that as we go through with the Regional Council at least. So we've been as open as what we can with you and with the public, but obviously we need to a response which reflects that.
Obviously, just on the subject of the costs, obviously there's a big cost to those businesses there too, those retailers that are right on that pinch point there. So we have been visiting them regularly, but the road is the big issue for them. So obviously, September sort of doesn't excite them at all, but it is what it is. And I'm not too sure if there's any way we could speed up to a one-lane situation. Not too
So
sure.
that's
but
that will go as fast as what it can, and that's
Yeah.
the messaging that we've been giving to them. We've been talking to them at least once a week, if not twice. At the moment, and if you go and have a look on site, you can quite clearly see the restricted nature of the work site where they're cutting back. It basically takes out all those lanes. So as soon as we possibly can, we will be progressively opening it. And to be fair, we've done that since the start. You remember the first couple of days, the roads were closed all the way up to the traffic lights, and then we progressively opened them up and put the little turnaround bay down by the shops. That was after consultation with the shops. We've done a number of other things which I won't talk about here, but a number of other things to try and make it as low impact on those retailers as what we can. Probably the hole-in-one golf is probably the most affected business, I would say, in that they still can't operate, and that they can't recover the balls from the lake. They're constantly assessing that and assessing when they are feeling comfortable to restart. But yeah, there's some significant costs being incurred by other parties.
Councillor Hickling.
The new water line is from Ruapehu Street down to about the second car park on Ferry Road. Just going back to timing, one of the things to bear in mind, that yellow line there is where the scour was. To make it safe for people to get down to the bottom of the hole to start rebuilding it, we're excavating out to about where the arrow is. And then we're going to start rebuilding it. So that yes, just about there. So right next door is the traffic lane. Now this might appear that it can be used, but if you're down in the bottom of this hole and you've got vehicles running alongside causing vibrations, that creates a hazard for those people in there. So one of the limiting factors is we need to build this up to a certain level before we can even consider that. And that's not something that people would ordinarily look at. They'll say, oh yeah, look, there's nothing happening out on the road, not a problem. But that's something that we just need to be mindful of.
I think probably just Councillor Hickling's question, this was sort of an unusual place that back further, so down at Colonel Roberts Reserve, it was away from the lake, and then it sits just by the train station there. But in that very location, it came down onto there. So by us moving it back, it actually brings it back in line essentially with the rest of the sewer line.
Councillor Harvey.
Just so that I can understand, this is amazing what you've been doing, obviously. So all of the services, there's no services that are going to be running along beside the lake, or have I got that wrong?
In this location, there are no services
Running.
other than power, telecom,
Right.
those type of
No
services
pipes,
in
they're
this
all
area.
moving
Yeah.
into
The only but is you do have a stormwater line, that green line that runs down, and
Yeah.
that will run through the retaining wall.
Right.
Actually, that's probably a good point as well, Dennis, just briefly, the downstream defender.
I did mention that briefly. We're taking the opportunity to put in a downstream defender, which is just added to the complexity of the job, because the ideal location for the downstream defender is at this manhole location here. What we're doing is building up the retaining wall, and then when we get to a certain level, we'll start building for the downstream defender and build the retaining wall around it, which is quite a challenging process. But once that's done, that will enable this bigger catchment, wider catchment up here, to run through the downstream defender, which is going to significantly improve the water quality discharge from that stormwater pipe.
So that's if there's any silver lining to a catastrophe, that's one, and that Brent Aiken tells me that that's the one that he's always wanted to get, but has been unable to because it would have required a road closer. So it was one that he always wanted to do, but knew that he was never going to be able to. Well, he's got the opportunity now to put one in.
Sorry, just to add to that, because Gareth, you did a very, very good job on the explanation for the traffic lights, I think it would be really, really helpful if you and Dennis got your heads together and put out a really, really good explanation as to why the delays are because of the traffic, you know, rumbling, blah, 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 just so that people understand if there are delays, because that settled a lot of stuff down when you did that. So I just suggest that do that ASAP.
I was
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. People understand if they have information.
Councillor Williamson.
Through the chair, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Obviously, just putting this separate conversation, but it's all related clearly with my environmental portfolio. We had a presentation yesterday. Tong and Kirsty and I were at with other staff with the Tiara River iwi trust, obviously impacted downstream culturally and also environmentally. So that was respectfully received by Tarrant and some good information supplied by Shane, Environmental Health and the Ministry of Health. So there was a great degree of reassurance, but obviously being unfortunate situation, it is what it is, and but working forward, I think the outcome will be probably respectful going forward, just understanding.
Absolutely, thank you, Councillor. Dead right, and as the Deputy Mayor's just said, communication and all that sort of thing is, you can't over-communicate on these things, can you? So, thank you very much, Dennis. Really appreciate that.
Just through the chair, I had a couple of quick
Councillor
questions.
Jollins.
Sorry. Are you able to give us an indication when the Waikato Regional Council are likely to issue their findings on this matter?
No, that's in their court at the moment. We're doing our own reporting on the event, which we're providing through to them. But that is in their hands. They have got some legal timeframes that they have that they have if they wish to issue different proceedings. But it wouldn't be right for me to speculate on where they're at.
So they've been working with us as you've come up with the solutions moving forward for this issue?
Yes, they're well aware of what we're doing in terms of solutions.
And just quickly, my last question probably is to you, Gareth, and is on the back of Councillor Williamson's comments. What is our approach and strategy moving forward with other key stakeholders in terms of impacts on the wider environment? What's our approach going to be?
So the monitoring that we've done, which has been extensive, both us and regional councils, show that the effects from this specific flow is quite quickly dissipated, and that's due to the volumes that we're talking about in the lake and the river. So the monitoring shows that, for example, down the river, within a very quick time you get back to what could be considered to be background levels. There's a whole lot more science going on at the moment, both from ourselves and the regional council, to identify out exactly what that means and what that means around the site here. We're working closely with the region and with Victoria and the other river iwi around that, and yeah, there'll be a whole school of work around that in time to come. Absolutely.
Great, thank you very much, Dennis. I appreciate your time and effort. As you say, you've been living and breathing this since the day it happened, so truly appreciate to you and your team, and Kevin and your team as well. Thank you so much. All right, just information be received. If I could have a mover. Thanks. Moved by Councillor John, seconded by Councillor Boddy. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Okay, back to the business. 5.2. Yeah, no problems at all. And thank you everyone for your indulgence. We'll try and move through as swiftly as possible from now on. 5.2, which is the Whareroa district private plan change. We have Mrs. Hilary Samuel. Good afternoon, Hilary. Sorry, Hills.
Sorry.
Yep, thank you.
The first recommendation is just a little bit of a process recommendation because of the timing that the private plan change was, or the latest information that we'd received as part of the application. We have 30 days to consider and make this decision. Just because of the timing of council, we're a little bit over that at 37 days, so we just need to tidy that up with that first recommendation. And then we get into the core, I guess, of the decision making with the following on resolutions. I just need to add in the plan change number, which was missed, I'm afraid. So we're in number 2 and number 2B, where it says plan change XX, that will need to be swapped in as plan change 36. And in 2 in the brackets, and then under 2B, it just has, we just needed to pop the number in. Yeah. And so just in a nutshell, really, this is our first private plan change that we've received. Our planning reporting planner has recommended that the plan change be accepted. So basically that means council takes the process on board, but the costs are borne by the applicant. And we run it through the first schedule process, pretty similar to a normal plan change, but as I said, the costs are borne by the applicant. It's sort of slightly different process, but the joint management agreement with Te Wharetoa Māori Trust Board comes into play with this as well. So we will be giving the option that, or going through the process of that there be a joint hearing process as per the JMA. So that's sort of the core of it. I'm happy to take any questions.
Councillor Jollins.
Just a point to clarify, our position on this is we're neutral, correct?
At this point, we're not doing any assessment on the application. It's about that acceptance, adoption or rejection, yeah.
Councillor Stewart.
Yeah, I would like to suggest, support this resolution. I've been on this with Whareroa just about since its conception, 16, maybe longer. Gee, I don't know the real thing. And I was out at Whareroa again at their AGM at the village that's there now, and one of the trusts came and spoke at that. And I would just like to let you know that everyone in Whareroa at that meeting, and I haven't heard any dissenters ever from Whareroa, are fully supportive of this this process. So I'd like to move that we accept this recommendation.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stewart. Anyone like to talk in favour of something? Yeah, Councillor Kingy.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Wee. Look, just supporting what Councillor Stewart has just said. I know this is a part of a process, but I think the community of Whareroa, and indeed that rural community for that Southern Lake area, certainly are supportive of this. I think this very much fits in line with where we're wanting to go as a council. Talk about wanting to be a prosperous, livable district. We've got to have houses for people to live in. We don't have a lot that are vacant at the moment, so I think this fits into line with that. So just supporting Maggie.
Cool. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kingy. All right. There's a recommendation up there. Rayleen's made it's got the necessary. It's not live, but you've got it in there. Okay, cool. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Good. By Councillor Stewart, Councillor Kingy. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Thank you very much, Hilary. 5.3, Taupo Hospital and Health Society Heart Monitor. We have Mr. Dylan Tahoe. Thank you, Mr. Dylan. And we've got Mark O'Callaghan. Nice to see Mark here. Good afternoon, Mark.
Apologies for the chair.
Okay, mate. You want to just sit down and relax and put the red button on, or Dylan, did you want to say a few words to start with?
Kia ora, Your Worship, Councillors. This is a follow-on from the workshop that was, or a presentation at a public forum that was made previously by Mr. O'Callaghan and the team. They are working through. Since that presentation, they've worked distribution as what's noted in the paper. That's all we have.
Thank you very much. All right, you want to add some words to that, Mark? Perhaps give us an update of where you are at exactly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mayor, originally we thought the venue was Mokai and we wouldn't be able to be present, so I've tried to answer all the questions that may be asked in my report. But if the report is, everybody has access to that report, perhaps I could save a bit of time by just taking questions.
Sure. Thank you, Mark. The report suggests expenditure possibly up to 50k. How much do you actually need to get this project across the line now?
At the moment, we've got a shortfall of 75k.
That's, as of today, that's the current figure
Yes.
still? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right, councillors.
Your Worship.
Councillor Hickling.
Mark, if we were able to support this application, when do you, I mean, obviously we can't support it by 70, although we'd love to. When would you anticipate by ordering or implementation of this monitoring machine?
Up to now, we've looked at a close-off date of October the 31st. But if we get council support and one or two others, which we are sure of, we could close it all off by the end of August.
This year?
This year,
Yeah.
yes.
There he's counting down.
That's what yeah, that's what
yes, we don't want to be taking it on too long because the community will be over it, and some of our ladies, they're not used to fundraising, and it's been a bit stressful for them.
So you're saying that if we can support you, there is other funders that are also willing to fund as well?
Yes, we have one or two that we know of.
In the pipeline
in
sort
the
of thing?
pipeline, yes.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Great. Okay. Councillor
Could I ask another
sorry,
question?
yes, yep.
Sorry. Perhaps Alan might be able to help here with regards to the community fund that we set up with the TEL fund, just to say, is there any in the coffers that we could perhaps
Alan?
okay, turn my
through the chair, yes, we set it up with $1 million seed capital at the beginning of the last financial year, and the earning rate on it was 3.38%. So there's $1,030,800 in it at this particular point of time.
Alan, sorry, just double check. Have we set the policy around that? Yeah, yes, that's it. That'll be the issue. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, it's for the whole community, for the district. It's not, and you know, it's for the well-being of the whole community. So it fits in with our vision, and I would hope that we could at least support it by some of that fund, preferably the 30,000.
Totally understand that. Just bearing in mind that policy is still to be set. Councillor Rankin.
Well, as the Lakes Health Board representative, I should make comment about this. Of course, I am in total support of this machine. It is going to save a lot of lives. I mean, the reality is you get taken through to Rotorua, you might die before you get there. or you can be taken on to Waikato. We need it. We've got our room set aside at the hospital for it. It's all set up. We're just waiting for the machine. And there is absolutely no way that the health board can buy this. It would be on the end of a long line of things, and everyone knows that health boards are in huge trouble, although ours is performing very well at the moment, but we still do not. I mean, we're well and truly overspent. The least in the country of an overspend, but still well and truly overspent. And it is absolutely vital to the health of the people in this area. It will make a huge difference.
Through the
Harvey.
Yes, I would definitely like to support this also. I know how hard they've worked as a group, and various organisations have contributed, including my own. And there's been a lot of fundraising, a lot of effort go into this, and I think everyone's really, really worked really hard. I'd like to think we absolutely can support this, please.
Councillor Williamson.
Through the chair, you think you I certainly endorse the comments both of Christine and Rosie, and I think part of the vision even fits in with Barry with their part of our vision with resilience. And just thank you, Mark, anyway, for your presentation. With the I do understand with the lifespan of the heart monitor is about 7 years, but my understanding is the Lake District Health Board will totally fund one when that one is past its use-by date. Yes.
Councillor Jollins.
Just a question through the chair, thank you, and it's probably more for Mr. Menhenant. Historically, how often has the council made donations outside of the normal cycle of giving grants?
Previously, we have not had a fund that positions us to be able to do that. Previously, the only grants we've done have been through the normal annual plan process.
If we were to class this as a donation, does that attract some tax clawback for us?
We don't expose ourselves to tax as a council at all.
All right. Okay.
Your Worship, can I
Yes.
just have it clarified, perhaps from Alan again? If we use the proceeds of the investment from the TEL fund, that wouldn't be unbudgeted, would it?
No.
Thank you.
Councillor Kingy.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, look, I'm just in support of this recommendation. I'm always around these sorts of matters, I guess, thinking that it would be it would be awesome for central government to dig into their pockets and spend their money in there, because we all pay our taxes. But hey, look, it is what it is, and we've got a passionate community and many passionate folk that have helped to support this. I think in terms of the piece of equipment, hopefully I'll never need it, but I mean, as a community, we obviously rally to support the retention of our rescue chopper. This is very much consistent with supporting continued service improvement at our hospital, and I know we'll give the good folks of all our district a better chance at survival, actually, so totally in support.
Thank you, Councillor King. Can I just ask the CEO, what as the CEO would you prefer it as an unbudgeted item, or would you prefer it out of that fund? Well, obviously we've heard from Alan.
Look, I think it's completely over to you. That fund has been set aside for that purpose, and as Alan said, there's some funds sitting there for that. So it's over to you where it comes from, but it would make sense from my perspective for it to come from that fund, and that was set up, as I understand it, whilst the policy hasn't been determined on how it gets distributed, it was set up for community uses. That's clearly and exactly what this is. So you've made $30,000 worth of interest already. I would say that depending on how far you want to go, at worst it's $20,000 into the seed funding that you've put aside.
Cool. Thank you. Mr. Menhenant.
Yes, section 12.1 of the Treasury Management Policy says that the key objective in the management of the TL fund is to provide income to facilitate the funding of community-based projects set by council without diminishing the value of the fund. So technically speaking, it sits within the policy.
Very good. Okay. Councillor Body.
Mr. Van Hand, you've got exactly what I'm looking at. It has the word in here about the telephone assets in perpetuity. Is that a set amount that remains the same, or does that include the interest earned?
No, what we've done within the fund is we have said that the fund is to grow by the rate of inflation. Above the level of inflation, any surplus income can be used for other purposes. In the past, we've used part of it for rate subsidies, but we're talking about going forward using it to fund the TL Community Fund. Just unfortunate in the year ended June 19, because we had to contribute so much to the Waiora House scenario, the surplus up and above inflation was used for that purpose. But hopefully going forward we will be able to keep topping up the TL Community Fund.
All right. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Councillor Rankin.
Can I therefore move that we donate $38,000 to the Taupo Health Fund to contribute, as our contribution to that machine from the TL Fund?
38, which would get it up to the...
Well, look, I mean, it's not the 50, but that's the money that's there, and that's really the kind of thing that it's intended for, and I think that's a fair enough contribution.
Yep, cool.
I'd like to second that, Your Worship.
Okay, very good. Thank you. It's been moved. Got that new figure in there, Raylene. Thank you very much. Yeah,
I'm
Councillor
sorry.
Body.
Oh, we can reduce the figure below $1 million. It's not an issue. That was just seed capital. It wasn't locked in. But this particular recommendation doesn't actually have a specific figure in it. And I think we need a specific figure to agree to going forward.
Okay. So Councillor Rankin derived that 38,000 from being the interest. Oh, 30. Okay. So amended.
33,800.
You're happy to move an amended resolution? Yeah. Of 30,000. Yeah. Seconded by Councillor. Anyone want to speak?
I think I'm
against
very
it?
disappointed with Councillor Hickling seconding it, because I wanted to second a resolution of Councillor Rankin, which I've never done in the past. I just like to make the point. I think we're coming to the right decision. We in this chamber we use the word we. We are the ratepayers, and I would not like to see funding like this come from the general rate. We have that community fund here. I think we need to use it. So I fully endorse the resolution.
All right. Sorry, Randy, you've got that changed now. Okay. The amended resolution has been moved by Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Hickling. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. It's against? Carried. Thank you very much, Mark. And if you could relay that good news. Yeah. Very good. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate those kind words. I hope you're coming for another 20 years too, at least. Now that we've brought you a new machine, you can't go wrong. All right. Thank you very much. Rose Prisk was with us this afternoon. Nice to see you, Rose.
Kia ora, Your Worship the Mayor and councillors. So there's nothing to add new to the report. It is as it is, and I hope that you've taken a look at it. Any questions? We did workshop this a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month. So yeah.
And we slightly amended it to what it is today. So
Yep.
that's good. Okay, I think There will be very much support because I can report we are all non-smokers here. That's even better. Well done, Maggie. Well done. Yeah. Okay.
I have a couple of questions.
Couple of questions for Councillor Body.
Thanks for the presentation. Just a couple of quick ones. On the adoption of one, it says support those wanting to quit, and I've got the word how. How as a councillor do we actively get involved with someone that wants to quit, which may be a national health issue?
Yeah, so as Toi Te Ora mentioned in the workshop, that having less smoking around, less visibility, less smell, less triggers, it actually supports people that are quitting to not want to pick up another cigarette. So
To follow on for that, where does this fit in with the people that have quit but are still do the vaping?
yeah, so this includes vaping as well. So when it says smoke free, it's also vape free.
So if this is adopted, someone can't vape walking along the waterfront.
So it's the signage and education. It's not regulated. There's no one enforcing it. It's just education. Here's a sign up. There's no smoking, no vaping. It's to discourage people from doing it.
We did this, through the chair, we did this at our playgrounds a while ago as a result of an annual plan discussion or LTP discussion, and the feedback's been amazing that despite the fact, again, we can't enforce it, people see the signs and they do respect it.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Rose, and thank you, Dylan. The recommendation there, Council adopts smoke-free Ahukauri district-wide action plan. Moved by Councillor Harvey, seconded by Councillor Stewart. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Item 5.6, 5.5, sorry. Taupo Lakefront Pathway and Reserve Enhancement Project, 91, page 91. We have Mr. Fraser Scott, landscape architect. Good afternoon, Fraser.
Afternoon, Mayor. Afternoon, councillors. I'll keep it brief.
Thank you for
It's a huge
waiting.
day. I don't know how you do it.
Waiting so long, yeah.
I'll take the paper as read. It's very similar in all aspects to the last one that I did in June. We've covered everything is in there, the financials, the recommendations. The only change I do need to minute is that it says that we've already started talking with Te Whātua Māori Trust Board, but we haven't done that yet because we want to get our order of consultation right, and we're still working through with C75 and the other interest groups before we go to the board, so we've got all our information correct before we talk with them.
So C75 being the landowners, or they, once that consultation is completed, then it'll go to Te Whātua?
Yes,
correct.
yeah.
Thank you.
And the only other change is the recommendation that the signing delegated authority goes to Gareth, because when the tenders are due back, it falls during the election cycle.
Okay, cool. All right. Okay, thank you, Fraser. Any questions of Fraser?
Just very quickly, when we did the amendment to the long-term plan, we brought in 10 years of expenditure forward. And that budget is still set. There's what we can reasonably achieve with what you're required to do. There's not going to be some prizes that we need another 100 grand or 200 grand over what's in that plan for this year. The annual plan's out, and I think it's $1 million, but I might be wrong on that.
That makes up the total. I think yes is the right answer to that, but Neil. Yep. Well, I'm not fine up here.
Yeah. And he's on a higher pay rate.
He's fine, but he's not fine. All right, Neil. The question was from Council Body. 10 years. We've accumulated the 10 years together. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, we brought forward budgets for the project to obviously the current financial year. That's correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
The question was, as it hasn't really started, there's no unexpected financials that we're going to have to look at later. We get too many of these bigger budgets come through and suddenly you got another 10% or 12% or
It's fully scoped, and we don't anticipate any changes to that scope.
Fully
during this
scoped, and you're
process.
on webcam saying that. That's excellent.
But to be
There's
fair,
contingency.
you know, we haven't tendered it yet. So
sorry,
we haven't tendered the project yet, have we?
No,
It's
we
based
haven't.
on best estimates so far.
That's right. We're only
Could
sitting
come
on.
in a couple hundred under. Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows?
Through the chair, I think the best way to answer this is we've done a lot of project management stuff here. And we're actually trying to really make sure we've got the scope really nailed down. We're also working our way through the key risks, and those are where the big costs come in. We can't say that we know it's going to be absolutely perfect. We'll do our best to get within that, but we certainly know the risks and we'll mitigate them, and we'll know about things a lot earlier than what we would have in previous times.
Fraser, just back to the pinch points on the area that you've alluded to previous workshops and agenda items. You're pretty confident now that we've got those pinch points sussed?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
we am.
Lovely. Thank you. Councillor Hickling?
Uh-huh. Yes. Yep. That's right. Yes. Yes. We are. We're going to stay. Yep. Yep. We are.
What were their names?
Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Yeah, by Mr. Haynes, was it? Yeah, Les Haynes. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, with
Yeah,
they're in safe
tree
hands.
hugger.
Right. Right.
Fraser, beautiful. Yes, Councillor Williamson. He's arrived.
Thank you. Thank you.
First slip's arrived.
I think Mr. Wishart might have answered my question regarding pinch points with the, obviously, as trustees on the C75 with Mayor David, we've obviously had a conversation, so you're pretty confident that the dialogues was very positive going down the track, so obviously with tight time frames, etc.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Yep, we are. We're going to continue that, obviously.
Pretty
Yeah. To get.
excellent. Thank you.
Jollins?
Oh, sorry, just a couple of quick questions from me. What's the timings for getting the tenders back?
Tenders come back in at the end of October, I believe.
Okay.
Sorry, off the top of my head.
I know, I guess the reason I ask is point 2 of the recommendation is to delegate authority to our CEO to keep proceeding. The question I just raised is this is a significant project for this council and for this community. Surely the team will want the new council that's in place alongside with that process rather than circumventing that by delegating that authority now? I'm just asking the question. I'm wondering what's the sense of real urgency if the tenders are only back?
We're really squashed for time to get it completed for the 70.3 event, and that we've got very limited contingency for any, as Kevin said, any risks that come up that we don't know about. We just wouldn't make that timeline.
What will happen, Gareth, if you've allowed approximately, I think it's 2.6 mil for this, if it comes in at 3.5, or there are some major other pinch points that come out of this tender process? Will you intend to come back to council?
So, yep. So as Fraser said, the timing is really pressurised because of that 70.3 World Champs. If that wasn't needing to be done by then, and the fact that it's such a compressed area from a space perspective and other events that happen all over summer, because we've still got another Ironman to go that we're going to work around and everything else. And so that's why it's really, the time frame is really tight. In fact, I think Fraser's cancelled his Christmas holidays to be able to get this thing delivered. To answer your question though, what you're doing today, what we're recommending that you do is to approve the concept plans and that budget up to that 2.6, I think it was 2.8. So that is then goes out for tender. We'll obviously get the specifics back. There is a potential that it will be more than that. We're saying that we don't think it will be because we've scoped it out good enough. If it did come back more, the first thing to do would be to renegotiate with those tenderers and try and get that price down. We would then look at scope and what we left in and what we left out and timing around that. Frankly, we couldn't at that time bring something back to another council because of the election process, because your councillors, you wouldn't be sworn in and you would be going through that process. It takes some time to be able to induct the new council. And so it would probably be a matter of staging and timing to be able to get it done as much as what we can while still meeting that time frame of the World Championship. Because whilst this isn't just for the World Championship, it's a legacy project that we were going to do anyway. It's a legacy project we're going to do anyway, but obviously it needs to be done by the World Championship so that the championship isn't through a construction zone.
I guess my reticence on this is just this is a legacy project, so you want to make sure that you've got your governance team and everyone all on board with you as you go through those key steps. I appreciate the pressure of the 70.3 and everything else that's putting on this, but just we need to keep those channels open.
You could just follow on from what Councillor Jollins was saying. Under the risk, you've got extended periods of bad weather. This is addressed by starting the physical works in December 19. So contingency time has been built in. So wouldn't that allow a new council to be on board before decisions were made? No. To me, the worry there is it could start in December 19, not necessarily in October.
No, because by the time the tenders come in, they then have to go through their assessment process, which takes time. A recommendation report needs to be prepared, which there's a process around that from a probity perspective. Then needs to be approved. Then when you approve the tender, then obviously the contractor needs to be able to mobilise, get into place, and get on site. So that all takes time. Which is, if we had to wait to come back to council, then that would push that back into the new year in terms of mobilisation, because the contractor wouldn't be able to do that until it was awarded, which then means that we would miss that deadline.
So just to clarify, that assessments will take a couple of weeks, and that's assuming that you don't find anything difficult. If you've got to work your way through, that can be extended by another couple of weeks, and then for mobilisation, even the best contractors will take at least a month to get on site.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Fraser. There's a suggested recommendation up there. Do I have a move, please? Moved by Councillor Stewart, seconded by Councillor Williamson.
Mr. Chairman, on that resolution, there's a number of options before it, so that resolution represents option 1.
Oh, just above that it says option 1 is the preferred option.
Yeah, preferred, but the resolution doesn't say that.
Yep.
Yeah. Otherwise, we might go for options 5 and you'd be right upset.
Yeah.
Approves the concept plans and scope of option 1. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so we just in that amended resolution. Been moved by Councillor Stewart, seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Thank you, Fraser.
Thank you.
Cool. Does anyone need a bit of a...
Yeah, do you mind to take 2 minutes?
2 minute, just while you guys get settled in, we'll just...
we'll make it better.
There's some key drivers around that we see around self-service. So being able to get in, have a single sign-on, and you can see exactly what's going on. This is what the future looks like, and this is what we're aiming for.
Was this not identified at the start when we approved technology 1? I wasn't.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Trace.
Yep.
Was
Through
it?
you, Chair. Absolutely. This was identified as the next phase of this project, and as we went through discovery with Project Quantum and understood it a bit more, it became really evident that it would add a lot of benefit and it would simplify our experience for our customers and our staff if we did it alongside, and then obviously the savings of repurposing that and using the existing staff time as well.
It's really a timing issue.
It
It's
is,
always
it's a
going to be
timing
done.
issue.
It was just that it was initially we thought we'd do it at some later date, and now we're saying, look, there's a whole lot of efficiencies and savings, and the outcome will be a whole lot better to bring that forward and do it alongside the rollout. So it's a timing thing in terms of when we do it rather than if we do it.
PwC didn't identify that.
Yes, they identified ECM as
Yes.
a
Subsequent phases, but they've not
Yep.
identified this straight away.
Yes, so absolutely. They identified we have some challenges with our current way we do document management and that we needed to address those. This is one way of addressing it.
Tracy, just to clarify for me, in the resolution it says 670k, but that's the total cost of the project after we take the increased cost of 375 over the next. How does the numbers work?
That is the contract cost.
Yep, the total contract cost,
The total
including
contract
the
cost over the 5 years.
Sure, and you're asking for an additional 375,000.
Yes.
To reach that.
To be placed in the next annual plan.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay, and have you, in the process of identifying the opportunity costs and the staff time, have you quantified what you think those savings might be in the vicinity of to come with it up to that conclusion?
Not.
So if we were to step the team up again, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah.
About $500,000.
And this is why, I mean, normally I wouldn't do this, but this is why we're sitting in front of you today going, this makes sense. So my advice is this makes sense financially. Yep.
Yeah, and I guess the opportunity cost of their time to do other stuff, which is very hard to quantify.
Yep.
It is.
Yep.
Yep.
So if we roll this in, it means we can then move on to other projects. So,
So just to clarify, because just picking up on the Mayor's comment there, to roll out Quantum, we've had to mobilise essentially a whole team. So in the base, you'll see the old training room is now full of a whole lot of bodies doing this work. Yep. Those people are generally taken out of the business, and so then we've had to backfill those spots so that the business can keep on rolling. So by stopping this and starting again, we would have to essentially replicate that process.
Okay. Councillor Rankin?
It's logical, it's sensible, and it's cost effective, so I'm happy to move it.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, I just endorse Christine's comments. Just with the $375,000 additional unbudgeted, or was it found within the existing budget?
no, there will be another $370,000 put in the next annual plan.
So it's unbudgeted at the moment, or
No, it's not at the moment. It will be. It will have to be budgeted in the next annual plan.
So will you submit to in the draft annual plan? Yeah. So you'll through your divisions. Yeah. Councillor Body.
So, Your Worship, it's no more than that 670,
That's the contract sum over 5 years.
including this one that's going to be in the annual plan next year. Okay, thank you.
Very good. Okay, been moved by. No other questions for Tracy or John? Thank you, guys. Councillor Kingy.
Sorry, Your Worship. Look, IT, I understand, is the name of the game in the modern world. It would have just been maybe helpful for us to have seen what that difference is, like how it improves our. I mean, because I accept that you, our team, are actually the ones interfacing with this technology, but sometimes I find with these sort of things just a show of where those improvements are can actually make the world of difference for understanding. Yeah, just a comment.
Yeah, and you're bang on, and I think probably at some point it'd be good to, we're not at that stage yet, but to actually tangibly show you this stuff, you'll see it's chalk and cheese. But we're not at that stage. I can, in a couple of months, I can probably show you on a phone what we're looking like, which and it's chalk and it's like night and day.
I suppose, Trace, while you're here, how's it gone, the implementation of
So far
project?
we are 2 months into implementation.
Yep.
It's been really exciting. I think the team have felt really empowered. We're doing stage 1 first, so phase 1 is HR and payroll, which obviously affects every single person in the organisation and you yourselves here. So, you know, that's gone really, really well. I think the team are really excited by the opportunities that's going to create, and we'll work through and around how we communicate those to everyone, because there is certainly some exciting things coming.
So payroll's on the new system already?
They will be going live in November this year.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, I just got a bit of indigestion. Thank you very much, guys. Righty ho, we have 5.7, sorry. Delegation authority to the CE for Council Administration Building Professional Services Contract, Mr. Philip King. Good afternoon, Philip.
Good afternoon all. Thank you for taking the time to meet, and just since we last met in late June when you passed a resolution to build a new civic administration building at 61 to 67 Tūwharetoa Street with 2 floors of underground parking, we've been getting on and getting that project underway. And as we talked about during the process, we've engaged and supported by Audit New Zealand, we've engaged a procurement specialist to give us some advice around how we go about procuring the professional services and the construction contracts to get this project underway. And we are developing a strategy which we're working with Audit New Zealand with at the moment to get their final tick-off with it before we go to the market. We intend to be in the market in August to attract architectural, engineering and quantity surveying type services to assist us get to a point. And those contracts will be available for signing around September, October this year. The idea of it is that when your first council meeting comes back in 2020, we will have concept designs for you, either the first or second council meeting, concept designs for you to be able to discuss, agree upon, provide feedback so we can move into the more detailed type designs. To allow that to happen, we're likely to have contracts that are coming above CE's delegation. So we're just looking for the ability for our CE to approve with the support of the project team and Audit New Zealand and others who are helping us with the probity to engage these design teams, the architecture, specifically engineering and quantity surveying, so that we can continue to build up the planning phase so that when you come back together in 2020, we'll be able to deliver you something that you can make a decision on so we can continue to proceed.
Thank you, Philip. Makes sense. Keep the ball rolling on this, certainly. And no doubt the CEO will sort of keep in touch on it anyway with us also as to how it sort of pans out, but certainly makes sense to me. Any questions of Philip? No? All right.
Sorry, I'm just going to be difficult because it's late in the day. Look, I completely see some of the logic in this. The thing that, the point I wish to raise is, and probity aside, processes aside, this is a significant project in this district's future. And a key part of that is the selection of the architect and the organisation that we choose. And I think it's from a governance perspective, we should be involved in that discussion because it's a duty of care as governance to set the direction. And I think a key part of that is talking and being part of the decision-making process for the choice of the architecture. Sorry, I can't even speak, it's getting late in the day. the architectural company that we use, because I think that sets up a tone and a flavour and a direction. So that is a part of the process in terms of governance and the role that I'm in now or whoever's in the future. I think we should be involved in. And also, I guess, the duty of care to Gareth, it's a huge responsibility to put on his shoulders, that's all. Any thoughts around the table?
So just before you do, through you, Mr. Chairman, I don't want to disagree, but one of the, if you think back to the Audit New Zealand reports that you received as a result of the process to date, one of the very strong recommendations, or one of the only criticisms that were of the process to date, was the fact that governance sat round and appointed Warren Mahoney last time. So you went through the selection process. Audit said that was wrong, and that because you are governance, and so you shouldn't be in the selection of the services, the same as you aren't when we're out for a contract for a water pipe or for a road, and that should go through a closed process with the experts in the room, and the experts being a procurement person, an engineer, a quantity surveyor, people who have the skills and ability to do that. So that was a very clear criticism, if you like, from that Audit New Zealand made last time, and the conversations that we've had with them just recently is that they would, for something like this, they would be very, very nervous having governance involved in that. The governance role is about approving the finances on the recommendation of that panel, of the group, which is the step that we're saying, because of the election, you don't have here.
I would love to get a robust debate about that. And I know that we've got some other challenges around the lakefront in terms of our work. Well, so this is a bonus progress.
So this is still on track. This won't be, well, none of this project will be impacted by any of the other work that we're undertaking. We have Philip as a dedicated project manager. It's got its own project team around it, so it's totally unimpacted.
Councillor Kingi.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Yeah, look, I have to echo very similar sentiments around this this particular paper, and it really does relate to all the things that are happening at the moment. I appreciate that from an efficiency perspective, this may achieve that, but I'm concerned that we what has to give if other things are happening around us, and we may have to react. I mean, we've got what's happened here on the lakefront, and other things may be on the horizon. I mean, I'm just concerned that if we go to this level, and I was elected by my community to make decisions, so I accept that is my responsibility, and I accept that I have to be sitting at the table when some of these things are happening. But I can't in good conscience support something that sees us continue in a fashion that I think exposes us to other things. I mean, we heard this morning in the update that there are things about the current spill that we just don't know. We don't know figures and facts and all that, and I need some comfort around that. That takes time. That takes time for our team to put together some more information that's going to outlay costs, and I need to know that before I can do anything. I appreciate we've got some time constraints, but yeah, look, I'm uncomfortable about this. Just that is my opinion.
Through the chair.
Councillor Williamson.
Thank you. I totally respect Councillor Kingi's comments and Roseanne's view, but I personally disagree. Obviously, for two reasons. Obviously, on the first count, getting back to the delegating authority, we're entrusting our confidence in our management and our building project manager to deliver. And I think the second thing is, for goodness sake, historically it's been shown you keep delaying these sort of decisions, processes, it only gets more expensive as time goes on. And so I do support actually the recommendation. I do respect the views of other members.
Thank you. Councillor Stewart.
Yes, I support this recommendation, and I support the CEO, and I also have confidence that the auditors know what they're talking about when they're telling us how a process should be done. So I am in support of this.
Councillor Harvey.
It's understanding people's reservations. So can you give me more of an idea, Gareth, of the timeline? Like, how soon are we likely to choose people? Like, we're going to be asking now, right?
Yep.
For
So I'll let
expressions
Phil-
of interest.
I'll let Philip to go through it because he's gone through the, he's got the time frame in front of him.
Just turn the light on.
We're looking to get documents out in August, and they'll be in the market for 20 days or more. Then there'll be an evaluation period. Then there'll be a recommendation once we've evaluated, and a selection, which is going to land us late September, early October, right on the elections, basically. So what we want to be able to do is to proceed. This is still just the planning phase. This is still just getting concept designs developed so that we're able to bring those concept designs to the council in your first meeting in 2020 or soon after to say, look, here's the concept designs that we've knocked up. Here's the state of the project to date. How would you like us to proceed?
Any way that before the elections, when's the last council meeting? September? Next month. Is there any way we can have a workshop or where you're at to date? I don't know how this works. Is there any way we can have more information?
So we won't know any more information until we go out for this process. That's exactly what this is going out to get those experts to come in and start to do those concept designs. We won't have it by then because that's that end of September, early October. So it's only post-election that you will have, because that's only appointing the architect. They then have to go away and start doing their work, etc., to get some concepts to you. The key will be that first meeting or two in the new triennium, which will be when the architects come and sit down with you. The first meeting, I imagine, will be to come and sit down and say, these are the sort of things that we're thinking about, give us your ideas. They'll still go away, put that into their, shake that around, and then bring you back something to approve or otherwise at that point. So this isn't about approving a design. This is simply about approving to the experts to do that design for you.
Councillor Rankin.
With the decision, I'm happy with the recommendation and I will move it.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Rankin. Just, Councillor Boddy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not quite sure where to start, but I made a few notes here and then I'm going to go back in a little bit of history. One of the things I've written down here, I was elected to make the decisions, not employees of council. Therefore, this decision must wait till after the election so that new council, and maybe none of us or all of us, can be responsible for its actions. But I want to do a little bit of historics. Back in March, I visited the Gisborne council building, which was a new build, and I sent an email to all my fellow councillors and senior leadership, and I got one reply from Councillor Harvey, the only one that responded. I showed this issue in the long-term plan deliberations, and what I found quite interesting is that we're looking for a build of a certain size. We're looking to accommodate so many people. Here in Gisborne, we have a building of just on 3,000 square metres or slightly over. It had a total build cost of 12.8 million, which included while the officers of that council for 2 years were around town in other buildings. So I find it rather concerning that we're looking at a build that's going to cost X number of million, well over that. But then I found it interesting, during the consultation and submission process, I was a little bit upset that some of the press releases from the council weren't, from my point of view, entirely accurate, because what was happening was we were getting the figures coming out that there were 645 submissions. And what concerned me at that time was, out of that figure, they forgot to add 197 submissions from Turangi. And when I broke the submissions down, what I found interesting was the fact that there was 115 for a lease, 245 from Lake Terrace, 155 for the car park, 66 for underground, and 64 for the domain. In Turangi, there was 62 lease, 18 for 72, car park 11, the domain 5. 110 said nothing. And what I found also interesting, when I looked at those of that 800 and something submissions, 66 plus the 5, what did I get to? 68 wanted an underground car park out of 800, to then also receive a document that was printed on the 28th of May that we had when we did our deliberations, and it said quite clearly, and I'm going to read it again because I read it last time. Irrespective of the option selected for the for the cab location, There is sufficient parking supply in the town centre to accommodate 20 to 25 years of growth, subject to effective wayfinding and parking management. For this reason, and due to the small effect on overall supply, the underground car park at 2 Whāratua Robert Street location is not considered to be essential. And I also got from Mrs. Jakes the cost of our existing leases for our 7 buildings. And what I found quite fascinating, I think they came in on the 1st of July, I found quite fascinating that only a couple had gone up. Some include telephone and power, but it works out at $463,984 a year for 2,500 square metres of space. And this is part of my concern that we're going to make a decision that could even be overturned by another council. And I've written down here the decisions need to be made by the new council, what our priorities are with these large cost increases, especially when we consider the new build for the Arts and Museum and a playground of significance. As Councillor Kingy has said very, very clearly, we do not know what's going to happen in the future, and to see our debt going up to maybe 170 or 180, I find not acceptable. So I will be voting against this resolution.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, just quickly, I'd just like to point out is you've been through a long-term plan amendment which approved for the building. It's actually improper at this stage to be relitigating that. It's not the purpose of this item. This item is about appointing designers. We have a approved project in the long-term plan. The only way that can change is actually for an amendment to the long-term plan to pull it out. At the moment, this item is just giving effect to the project which is approved in the long-term plan.
I've got a right to express my concerns. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. Councillor Hickling.
Yeah, Your Worship, the decision's been made. The council's made the decision, whether it was unanimous or not is immaterial. The council's made a decision to actually build a new car building on 2 Whāratua Street car park. End of story.
Thank you. All right, just want to add just a couple of comments, and I know the resolution, but you know, we as a council are very much business as usual. We are carrying on. You know, Mr. Strongman did alert to a couple of pressures of his engineers, and I appreciate that. But the day-to-day business of this council and the economic growth and the people's well-being carries on in this district. We do not stop because we've had an issue. We keep going. So, with those words, it's been moved by Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Stewart. All those in favour? And those against? Yep. Cool. Okay, the recommendation is moved. Thank you. Passed.
Just if we could just add to the minutes there, maybe just record that the project has just got your authority to continue to get us through to the point that we can bring you these concept designs and we can just box on as you say, business as usual.
Yeah, cool. All right, thank you very much, Philip. Right, 5.8. Receipt of final statements.
Yeah, I hope this is quite
Thank you,
mechanical. So Jess normally does this, but she's with the boys today. So you've had these before. This is just a mechanical item. I'm hoping just to approve the statements of intent.
Okay. Have we got it up here? We haven't got it up here. No, that's right. Okay, been moved. Is it? So, second. Any questions, John? So moved by Councillor Boddy, seconded by Councillor Williamson.
Do you mind if I just make a quick comment?
Yes.
Just it's nothing to do with this, but just I'm not sure if you're aware, but the PGF application for the airport went in yesterday. 10.8 mil, so we'll just less the council contribution. So that's in train now. We'll just see where we get to.
Cool. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. 5.9 Treasury Management Policy Review. Neil.
Right, good afternoon again, councillors. Probably just take this item as read, although I might actually just point out a couple of key things in it. So fundamentally it's an annual review of the policy. So there are a couple of changes in there. Probably the best thing to do is to go to the first attachment there, which is the memo, if you like, from PwC. So that's just outlining the key changes to the policy. So borrowing limits. So there's a couple of things there, just around the definitions of liquid assets, and also around the liquidity ratio. So just getting, but basically just aligning the policy a bit more to best practice, really. Probably the one that I want to point out there is around the CCOs. So there's been a change to which last year I think it was, the LGFA documentation to allow the LGFA to lend to CCOs and CCTOs. Previously that was excluded. One of the key reasons is actually to try and bring on Dunedin City Council, which currently runs their treasury operation through a CCO. So currently they're unable to participate in the LGFA. So just kind of tweaking the wording there allows for the opportunity for Dunedin to come on, but also should there be changes in the local government sector, as has been talked about around the Three Waters potentially going to CCOs, this mechanism would allow the LGFA to lend should those entities be set up. So it's kind of future-proofing the LGFA around that, and that flows through to council's treasury policies as well. So that's just a little bit of information around that. What was the other thing I wanted to point out there? Around the pre-funding, just how we just exclude the netting of the pre-funding from ratios, because it's kind of meaningless to distort the ratios. And the other key one there really is a change to the interest rate risk control limits. You'll see the graph on there, which just shows a declining, like an escalator going downhill. So that's just the recommended change to the interest rate control limits, which just kind of aligns with more how Treasury policies are being written now. But yeah, so those are the key kind of changes I just wanted to point out, and happy to take any questions.
Just one question.
Councillor Jolland?
Just one question for me, Mr. Ward. These proposed changes that have been put forward to us, do you see any changes in our risk appetite? Do they change because we have a low appetite for any financial risk, it's in our risk charter.
Agreed.
These changes don't expose us to any increase in risk?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Good, that's the answer I needed. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you for clarifying the CCOs and the CCTOs. If the funding was required for them, would the answer you gave to Councillor Jollins be the same? It would be?
Yeah, okay. It would be. Yeah.
On the
so I'll just probably expand on that a little bit. Any lending directly to CCOs has to go through the LGFA process, and the board of the LGFA has to sign that off. So one of the things that they're looking to do there as part of that sign-off process is to look at any risk that's there, and then they would decline if they thought there was taken on more risk, because you've got to remember the LGFA is looking after the shareholders, which is us. So yeah, there's a process that goes through there into. Yep.
Quickly, Mr. Chairman, I'm interested in some of the changes on the wording. In 3.5, it talks, the old one said proposed new funding, and now it talks about external borrowing. Are they the same thing? Or was the funding before internal? Because you can't internal borrow, can you?
Sorry, I'm just, well, you
3.5.
can. You can, but we don't. So
some do.
Lots of councils do, yeah. Yeah, some, yeah. Sorry, 3.5 of the item, was it, John?
Yeah, 3.5, about the third line up. It goes proposed new funding, that's been crossed out, now external borrowing requirements.
Just trying to catch up, sorry.
That's right. There's another one while you're here anyway. That one there, I've changed it to external borrowing.
I think it's just it's clarifying
Okay.
the wording.
Well, there's one over here as well, Neil, while you're there.
Oh, sorry.
So, unencumbered assets, is this not physical? What's the definition of the asset?
Oh, yeah, okay, so in terms of liquid investments, when you're talking about unencumbered assets, really what they're looking for there is that you can cash it into settling the obligation straight away. Cash is an unencumbered asset.
Okay. And just finally, Mr. Chairman, there is one spelling mistake.
I won't pay PwC's fee then if they've done that. Right.
It just reads, or other significant, EVEN, it should be event.
Okay, I'll get that one off you later, thanks.
That's it, thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. The suggested recommendation there. We have a mover. Thank you very much, Councillor Jolin. Seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Right. Council engagements. Thank you very much, Neil. 5.10. August 2019. I haven't got them on my... All moved? No adjustments or anything? Nope. Easy peasy. All right, move, Councillor Johns. Yep, great. Seconded by Councillor Hickling. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Members' reports. 5.11. Councillor Rankin.
As per our pre-meeting discussion about the lights and the comments from people about noticing that the bridge is in a bad state.
Yes.
And wanting it painted and thinking we're responsible for that, can we write to whoever owns it and ask for it to be zhuzhed up a bit? Because it does, when you stopped on it, it actually does look awful. And I'd never noticed it before until someone mentioned it, and it's not looking good.
I don't know if...
well, we're not going to get a new one for a long time,
here.
so a paint
Probably
in the
Kevin,
interim would
Kevin
be
might,
very nice.
Kevin might be able to answer that. Are we able to pen a letter? Yeah.
A couple of weeks' time.
Yeah. Yeah. Even it was plastered or so, it just needs, it's 42, 44? Yeah. Plastered and painted or something. Yeah. Google bridge upgrades might be a new, something like that. Anyway, all right, thank you, Councillor Rankin. Cool. Any other thing? Comments? I suppose, yeah, Councillor Williamson?
Yeah, just the meeting that Councillor Truman, Councillor King and I attended with you and Gareth, as some other senior staff, the Tarrats, being on the joint management committee with them. And as I say, the major topic of conversation was the actual event down the lakefront there and other wastewater spills.
Cool. Yep, I might just had the Prime Minister make a fleeting visit on Thursday morning, where I accompanied her to Medaka and Turapaki, and so had a little bit of time in the car with her where I traversed the general state of the play and what have you. Bully Point was one that she took away as a work on. She wrote it down and all that sort of thing. Yes, I did. Yeah, she remarked that I was one of the better looking mayors in the country. Apart from that, sure, she tried to rub in. Anyway, no, what happened was, so basically she'd like to come back and do it at some stage, which would be always welcome, but she is aware of our PGF applications too. She comes here quite often under the radar. Holidays here, so that's always good to know. I was just brought up in Murupara, just up the road, so she knows exactly, what's what. We traversed issues around, the state of the play in Mango and Turangi, Kinloch. She'd heard about the growth in Kinloch. Housing, obviously. Yeah, airport, yes. Well, she saw the congestion firsthand, which is quite handy. It was a full plane that got off. So, so lucky Gareth was there at the same time, so he got to meet her as well, which was good. I had something else there. the PGF applications. What was that? Bully Point, yeah. No, she didn't bring the baby. She thanked me for the flowers that we sent as a council to her for the arrival of the young one. I had something else then, but I just can't remember. But wants to come back and do a full. Housing Corp. She was aware of Housing Corp's 9 new houses in town that they built. You might have seen them going up. Yeah, around the traps. Yeah, units. Yeah, 3 on a section. There's two. There's one just up here next to Tiny Dean's place, and Norman Smith, and up Tahadipa Road, up the top there. Yeah, which is local, which happens to be he's got the nationwide contract too. Penny Homes, yes. He's building 40 odd in Takanini. So, anyway, she did mention that the problem was that the numbers they mentioned, 10,000 a year was just, if they built 50 in a year, they would have been heroes. But they got the numbers wrong. So, anyway, that was that. Sends her regards. And she was off. She went from here to Te Awamutu and then out to the Tokelau Islands. So, the life and times of the Prime Minister. So, no, that was good. But she wants to come back and do a full visit. Wants to do commercial visit, tourism, geothermal, and obviously social services. Wairua House. Buy a house. Yeah, I'm not too sure. So that was that. All right. No other members' reports? Yes, Councillor Truman.
Yeah, just to say that we had our first Mangakino Lake Hop and it was hugely successful.
Yeah.
Had over 200 cars there. It was great to see our CEO come out as well, his family.
Boy,
Yeah, so
picture your head from way back.
yeah, no, it was such an amazing first time event. So yeah, big ups to the organisers.
Yeah, great. Was it local organisers?
Yeah, local organisers. Yep.
Wow, good.
That was really good.
Brilliant. Okay. Were you happy to move the members' report there was there? Thank you, Councillor Truman. Seconded by Councillor Kingy. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Okay, thank you very much.